All right, today we're diving headfirst into the strange and deeply unsettling world of Japan's unsolved cases. We're going to explore 4 stories that really defy any simple explanation. These are the kinds of cases where the more facts you uncover, the deeper the mystery actually gets. Okay, let's jump right in. So our first case, it starts all the way back in 1996. It begins as a simple road trip between friends, but it ends up becoming a mystery that would last for 24 years. So picture this. May 5th, 1996. Two 19-year-old friends, Megumi Yashikishi and Narumi Takumi, they decide to go on a little adventure to check out an abandoned hotel. They make one last call to their families after getting gas, and then they just vanished. For years, there was absolutely nothing. No leads, no clues, nothing to suggest what happened to them. Now look at these time gaps. They're just staggering. The trail goes completely cold for 18 years until, out of the blue, police get this startling tip. But even then, they wait another 6 years before they finally act on it, which is when they discover the girl's car submerged at the bottom of the sea. I mean, this timeline just blows the whole thing wide open with questions, right? Why would witnesses wait 18 years to say anything? And maybe even stranger, why would the police then sit on a massive lead like that for 6 more years? It just makes you question everything about what we're told happened.
Okay, so here's what the tipster claimed. They said that 3 people saw the whole thing go down. They were apparently approaching the girl's car in this seaside parking lot when suddenly the driver just slams it in reverse, guns it, and plunges straight into the ocean. The car just sank and disappeared.
And this is the central haunting question, isn't it? If you watch a car with 2 people inside drive into the ocean, why on earth wouldn't you call for help? Why would you stay silent for almost 2 decades? The official finding was that this was all just a tragic accident, but that one detail, it leaves that conclusion shrouded in some very serious doubt. All right, so from a mystery of baffling inaction, we now turn to a case that is just, well, it's baffling on a purely physical level. This next story involves one of the most bizarre and unbelievable deaths you will ever hear about. So, to really understand this case, you've got to picture the scene. We're talking about a traditional Japanese squat toilet. It's built right into the floor, and it's connected by this very narrow pipe to an outdoor septic tank. Just keep that image in your mind. The discovery itself unfolded in 3 totally chilling steps. First, a teacher at a school finds a single shoe, just oddly placed inside the toilet bowl. Puzzled, she goes outside to check the septic tank that's connected to it, and when she opens it up, she finds the body of a 26-year-old man, Naoki Ojino.
And here's where it gets truly weird. The official police theory seems to completely ignore the physical evidence. They concluded he was a voyeur who secretly climbed into this tiny tank to spy on women, got stuck, and then died of hypothermia. But the details just don't add up. Not even close.
I mean, just look at this evidence. The body was found face up, with the shirt neatly folded and placed under his crossed arms. How is that even possible in a space so tight that emergency services had to literally cut the tank open just to get the body out? And as if that's not weird enough, his other shoe was found in a river, far away. The facts just do not support the official conclusion.
Okay, from a death that pretty much defies physical logic, we now move to a series of crimes that sparked nationwide panic, and it was all centered around a common, everyday object that you see all over Japan: the vending machine. The weapon of choice in these crimes was paraquat. It's a highly toxic chemical, and if you ingest it, it guarantees a slow and incredibly painful death. Now, to understand the terror this caused, you gotta know that Japan basically runs on vending machines. They're everywhere. They're a trusted, normal part of daily life. And this killer turned them into instruments of random horror. So the horror begins in April of 1985. A 45-year-old truck driver goes to buy a drink, and he notices a second free bottle sitting in the dispenser slot. A nice little bonus, right? Well, he drank it, not knowing it was laced with paraquat. He died a few days later. And after that first poisoning, the attacks just stopped. For 5 whole months, there was nothing. It must have created this false sense of security, like it was a horrible but isolated incident. But then, in the fall, the killers struck again, and this time with terrifying frequency. Between just September and November of that year, 11 more people died in the exact same way, drinking poisoned beverages that were left as traps in vending machines all across Japan.
And the killer was a complete ghost. There was no known motive. The targets seemed totally random. They left almost no clues, always picking machines in low-traffic areas with no cameras. They never contacted the police or the media. And then, just as suddenly as the attack started, after November 1985, the killer simply vanished. They were never heard from again.
All right, for our final story, we're going to shift gears from pure malice to a mystery of a totally different kind. This is a tale of incredible, almost unbelievable ambition, and a man who simply flew away.
Let me introduce you to Suzuki Yoshikazu. He was a piano repairman who, somehow, had gotten himself into about $5 million worth of debt. But he had a truly fantastical, almost childlike plan to pay it all back.
In November of 1992, he launched his homemade aircraft. And when I say homemade, I mean it was a wooden canoe attached to giant helium balloons. The media dubbed him the Balloon Man. And while his craft was wild, he was surprisingly well prepared for his impossible journey to America. But there was one huge problem. The helium started leaking almost as soon as he took off.
The next morning, he actually managed to make a phone call to his family from the air. He told them that everything was fine, that his journey was going well despite some issues, and that they had nothing to worry about. It was the last time they would ever hear his voice. That night, he triggered a distress signal. A naval vessel spotted him and started tracking his flight. But then, and this is the part that makes absolutely no sense, Suzuki himself turned the signal off. He was last seen flying on into the darkness at an altitude of 2,500 meters, and then he was just gone.
You know, these cases don't have those neat, tidy conclusions we crave. They leave us with this really unsettling truth that some mysteries just aren't meant to be solved, and they force us to wonder about all the strange, impossible things that might be happening just beyond the edges of what we think we know.